Hi guys. So I hope the aspirants who have given the symbiosis admission test, their exams have been well. And today we are going to do an analysis of this SLAT exam. So let's begin. We have tried to jot down the things as far as possible. We try to gather it from the students. Hi guys. So I hope so now we will start with our analysis, and I hope all of you are joining us. So as we know the pattern of this exam, so all of this 5 section contains 12 questions and all of this has a 12 marks. So now we will move ahead and see the difficulty level of the question. So in this present paper, as far we have seen the questions as mentioned by the students, it was understood that the logical reasoning was bit easy and reading comprehension was also easy. General knowledge was difficult because some random questions has been asked, and whereas legal reasoning was somewhere easy to moderate because we will see in this section specifically, and then the analytical reasoning was moderate to difficult because the questions were time taking. So that's how we have rated it down, and I believe that totally the paper was of the moderate level, right? So we'll see. So we'll start with the legal aptitude section. So in this section, we got the cases of the questions from the contract or the criminal law or the constitution. The students have informed that the questions from the contract were difficult because no principles were given. And specifically in these questions, we had to determine the liability of the contract in the certain cases. So there were certain situations have been given, and upon that situation, we have to figure it out the liability. So it was quite difficult because in such areas we must have given certain principles, because all of us know that in law the things are different as per the different principles. So it must be tough because there was no principle, and then you have to define the liability of the contract. So two questions we got to know that in one case mother asked her child to get A plus grade, and then she will give some reward, and fortunately the child got the A plus grade, and later the mother denied to give her the award. So in this case, you need to determine the liability of the contract. So in this regard, a very famous case is there, Balfour versus Balfour, where there is a case of husband and wife. So what now contract law says is, whenever there is a personal relation, in that particular personal relationship, there is hardly an intention, a legal intention to enter into the contract. So as we all know that it is an established principle that whenever there is a contract, there must be a legal intention to enter into the contract. Otherwise, the contract is not legally enforceable. Then the second question was from criminal law. So contract, I believe few questions were there, close to 4 and 5, but all of those had this difficulty level same. Yes, so we had this public service employment in exchange of money. So we all know that public services employment cannot be given to someone in exchange of money. So in this case, contract is not valid because here the public service employment is an object, right? And giving a public service employment in exchange of money is not correct. So for example, if I make a contract with someone to get an admission into the National Law University or to get an admission into the Indian Institute of Technology for exchange of certain amount, so that contract will be held invalid or illegal. Correct? Then we will move to criminal law. That criminal law, we had the extortion. In this, we got this case. One of the question we got to know that husband asked his wife to be ready with all the jewelry as they were supposed to go to some marriage function. But as soon as wife got ready with all her jewelry and she dressed up nicely, and then rather than going to the marriage, the husband drives the car to the forest, and in the forest he threatens her that if she did not give him the whole jewelry, all the jewelry she is wearing, then he will kill him. So this is the case of extortion. So whenever we threaten someone to surrender, to make them surrender their property, then whenever we are threatening to commit any act which is forbidden by the Indian Penal Code, so that particular thing, right? Whenever we are threatening someone to murder or to cause them a grievous hurt, so in that case, that particular act becomes extortion. So if the husband would have normally taken away the jewelries from the custody of wife in their house, that would have called as theft. But in this particular case, when there is a threat for death or the immediate death or the grievous hurt, this amounts to extortion. So this was an easy question. Then we had questions from torts. The question was from the strict liability, and it was about the company polluting the lake. What will be the liability? So we have seen different cases because a lake, a river, so all of these things are the public properties, and different examples we have seen. For example, in the case of there was a case with respect to the Taj Mahal, where the color of the Taj Mahal is turning yellow from white. And the biggest cause of this is the affluents discharged by the various industry in and around Taj Mahal, and the different kinds of pollutants which are released in the air and the water both is the major cause. In that particular area, the courts have claimed absolute liability different time, and strict liability can also be applied considering the different cases. So like this, this was again a very easy question where you have to define the liability of the company. Now, whenever the word lake is mentioned, we can understand the gravity or the effect of that particular thing will be lessened. So in this particular case, strict liability can also be applied. However, since we have got this question, just a rough measure of what that question was, so it seemed easy, right? Seeing the gravity of question which is. Then we had question from bailment, and then we had question from freedom of speech and restriction, right? So we have a fundamental right which has been given to us under Article 19 of the Indian Constitution, and the Indian Constitution specifically gives us the fundamental right, and one of the prominent fundamental right is freedom of speech and expression. But Constitution also says that whenever we have these rights are not absolute in nature, and it comes with the reasonable restrictions. So in this particular case, we have seen that the internet shutdown has been faced in the Jammu and Kashmir, and that has been followed because of the certain public chaos which has taken in that particular place. So this is one of the aspect of the reasonable restriction, that whenever there is something wrong with respect to the law and order or the public tranquility, the government is empowered to make such decision, to curb your fundamental right, to curb your freedom of speech and expression. So in this case, shutting down the internet was absolutely right because it was under the reasonable restriction. So we have this case also of Anuradha Bhasin, where the matter has been filed in the Supreme Court in reality, because this thing was there that there was a internet shutdown, and for months people were not able to use the internet. And when even internet restored, only 2G facility was given. So imagine 2 3 years back when we were living in the era of 4G, and now we are living in 5G. So even that time the 2G facility has been given so that people are not able to subscribe to the internet a lot, because that will create further chaos, because different kinds of fake news will pop up. So that is why such restrictions are given in our constitution, and therefore the answer is right, that restricting the freedom of speech and expression because of this particular issue is absolutely correct on the part of the government, and hence it is not a violation of your freedom of speech and expression. Then, in the form of assertion and reasoning, we had questions from the constitution which was related to DPSP. DPSP is Directive Principles of State Policy. Now, we got to know that question was from the government is promoting the respect for international agreement, and yes, it has been given under DPSP Article 51, where the government is mandating that the respect shall be given to the international agreements. Now, the validity of DPSP is non-enforceable in the court of the law, and that is how it is distinguished from the fundamental right. So because we see that fundamental right is the heart and soul of the constitution, because of the certain remedies it is carrying under the article 32, which we famously call writ jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. So that is why fundamental right is enforceable in the court of law, and the DPSP is non-enforceable in the court of law. Then we had again question from Todd, which was related to the slander. Now, if someone is defaming the company, so whether slander is applicable in that case or not. So definitely yes, because if someone defames the company, it is important to understand that defamation will be there because it is harming the image of the company. So again, a very recent example I would like to give, that there was a Hindenburg report which was published, and it showed the accounts of the Adani, right? So whole of the Adani enterprise was got affected. Their stock came down, their valuations came down. So yes, defamation will also be applied to the company because it is causing loss to the company in one sense or another. So therefore, slander will be applicable to the corporations as well. Then culpable homicide not amounting to murder. This is coming from Indian Penal Code. So the scenario was such that A wanted to kill B, but mistakenly, out of mistake, he shot C instead of B. So in this case, this will be amounting to, not amounting to murder, but it is amounting to culpable homicide. So this, the culpable homicide has been given in section 299 of our IPC, then 300 murder and the punishment, and the culpable homicide not amounting to murder. So from section 299 to section 304 and 5, you can find these provisions. So this was all about the legal reasoning, and I believe the question was from easy to moderate. So I hope all of you must have been able to solve these questions because it is from a bit general category. Then, if we see logical reasoning, we had few questions, and the overall difficulty of the paper was easy. So we can see number of triangles, correlation, assumption. So all of this came in on a very easy note. It was very easy to solve, and then the students said that they find slight difficulty in the arrangements in the Venn diagram, but yes, rest of the questions were easy. So we can definitely say that the overall difficulty was easy, and you might have been solved, you might have solved all of these questions, or at least 10 or 9 out of it. Then GK was a bit surprising. It was a bit difficult because multiple things have been asked, which was quite random, and general people would not be knowing about it. So now the level of difficulty, the level of questions which have been set is difficult because of the quite, and so it was a mix of the static and the current affairs, right? So the very first question was from the static GK. It asked the largest river island in Assam. So Majuli is the largest river island. Majuli is in the Brahmaputra river, and this is the non-coastal landmass. So this comes in between the two banks of a river, and even it has been recorded in the Guinness Book of World Record that it is the largest inhabited riverine island, and the length is 880 square kilometers. So this is the length of this river island, and it is the largest in the world. Then again static, first Chief Justice of India, first CJI of India. So H.J. Kania, Hira Lal J.K. Sanders Kania. So इनका जो ऑफिस का टर्म था that was from the 26th January 1950 up till 6th November 1951. Then who won the U under 17 Women's FIFA World Cup? So Spain won. So I think this was an easy question. All of you must be knowing. Then a recent declaration of national monument by BJP. So this was from 2022, later part of the 2022, when Narendra Modi visited the state of Rajasthan, and the Mangad Dham. So Mangad Dham has been declared as a national monument following the visit of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Via which technology the degrees were awarded by the IIT Kanpur. So IIT Kanpur has come up with a very innovative idea, and through the blockchain technology, they have awarded the degrees this time. So this was a very first of the kind initiative by a institute where the degrees have been given via the blockchain technology. Then which country had a nuclear fission breakthrough? So United States has announced this nuclear fusion breakthrough. So this is a historic step towards the promise of near limitless clean energy. So as we all know that we are fighting a very climatic battle in which all the countries have certain targets and standards in order to tackle the climate challenges, in order to tackle the problem of global emissions. So with this, the United States is trying to have the clean energy, and it will help them to fight the climate change also. So we had this United Nations framework on climate change. So this is the parent authority who looks over the climate change issues. Friday for Future, reason for protest. So Fridays for Future क्या है? What was the reason of protest? So it is a youth-led climate justice movement. So this is again a follow-up question of the climate. It is about climate justice movement, and it began in 2018. So we had this conference of parties. So we usually have in every few years conference of party, and in that conference multiple things have been decided by mutually by the all of the countries who are participating in that conference. So this is a movement which has been started by 15-year-old Swedish student Greta Thunberg, and she started protesting outside the Swedish parliament every Friday so that she can put her demand to bring a strong action or to bring a strong change for the climate change. So we are seeing that in fact in our country also, with respect to the different strategies and initiatives government, for example we can see the we are including the EVs now, right? Electric vehicles, we are including the solar panels. So government is giving a lot of benefits if you are going to purchase a electric vehicle. That is called as a FAME subsidy, FAME. FAME subsidy we are getting. So it is encouraging for all of us to purchase EV vehicle or to plant a solar roof in house. So all of these are the steps which are towards saving climate, because 5 years back the line you might not have seen the emergence of EV as it is today. So all of this, and the Greta Thunberg is also very famous because of the protest she ignited in our farmers protest, right? So 2 years back when our farmers were in the protest in the regions of Delhi and Punjab and Madhya Pradesh, so Greta Thunberg played a major role along with an Indian activist called Disha Ravi, 21-year-old, a Bangalore student, also participated along with the Greta Thunberg, and they prepared different call of actions on behalf of farmers. So that is how Greta Thunberg is famous from both the aspects. Then the question came regarding the recent Japan space mission. So the name of this mission was Innovative Satellite Technology Demonstration 3. So this was their first orbital liftoff, which they launched in the later part of the 2022, which was close to around October and November. So this was their first orbital liftoff. Then which article of Supreme Court, SC denotes to Supreme Court, is binding on all courts? So Article 141 of the Constitution of India says that the Supreme Court's decision or the Supreme Court's order will be binding upon all the other courts. So as you all know that we have a hierarchy, that is district court, higher court, and then the Supreme Court. So whenever any decision comes from the Supreme Court, it is applicable, and not even applicable, it is binding upon the High Court and the District Court both. Then we have this 77% reservation issue. So this was in the Jharkhand, and again in the last end of the 2022, the Jharkhand came up with this policy where they have proposed to increase the reservation. So now it is SC category will get a 12%, ST will get 28, so this is 40, and then again 15 plus 12, which is 27, 67, and the EWS 10 cat 10%. So altogether 77% reservation has been given by the Jharkhand, and then again this came in the light of a political crisis which has been facing by the Jharkhand government, and the CM Soren, the Chief Minister, Mr. Soren has been, it was said that he was going to be booked under a charge for the office of profit. So in order to please the citizens, in order to secure the votes or to garnish the needs of the residents or the citizens of that particular state, they come up with this policy that they increase the reservation of scheduled tribe up to 28%, right? So because of this, there was a national backlash with respect to this particular issue, that how even a public sector job area have this huge reservation. The name of the cyclone. So cyclone given by UAE, Mandos. So now this Mandos name has been given because UAE proposed about this name, and they said that so because we had this cyclone in our Andhra Bay of Bengal border, and the Mandos, the word Mandos means that a treasure box. So the Arabic meaning of this word is treasure box. So 166 names have been notified by the United Nations, and then out of this, Mandos has been selected because it is resembling, as per UAE, it is resembling with the incident which has happened in the Bay of Bengal. then yeah, so this just a minute. Okay, so this was all about the GK section, and then we can move to the reading comprehension English section. So why I've kept it reading comprehension, because we have got 4 passages this time, and the difficulty was easy, as the students told, and the length of the passages were short to medium. Short to medium passages have been given. Total 4 passages and 12 questions. And types of question, if we talk about, we got vocabulary, and then we got synonyms, antonyms, inference, and the purpose of passage. And luckily, there was no question from the grammar area. So we got few of the question that we got a passage from the maritime law, which was from the Pradeep R. Sagar from India Today, and they asked for the word, opposite word for acquitted, right? So acquit means, anyone can write in the chat box. Acquit means, correct. So acquit means to, whenever court release some person, release from the charges. So whenever any charges have been put upon any person, so we whenever those charges are cleared, you have been released, we call acquitted, or we say acquittal. So the opposite of acquittal is conviction, right, or convicted. Then similarly, we had very easy synonyms of transmissibility, lethal, right? And then again, we had the meaning for the city of dead. So the city of dead is very famous in Cairo, Egypt. This is necropolis. So overall, we can definitely say that English was very easy, right? Then moving to analytical reasoning, there were total of questions, 12 questions were there, and we got questions from profit and loss, ratio and proportion, basic algebra, and BODMAS. So the questions were bit tricky, bit time taking. So I can say that the total difficulty of this analytical reasoning was tough, right? So now we can see the sort of score you might get in this paper. So when we talk about logical reasoning, I would say if, because LR is such an area where you can get full marks also, and similarly with the RC as well. So logical reasoning, I have kept the minimum cap of 9 and maximum of 12. And same with the RC, because if someone's vocabulary is strong, so then you might score full marks also, right? Because there is no ambiguity in that. Whereas GK was quite tough, so maximum I'm assuming 8, because there were some questions from the current affairs also, which is definitely expected from you to go through. Yet there are 5 difficult questions which we can definitely skip. So at least most minimum you must be scoring 6 out of 12. But yet 7 to 8 is the decent bracket. If someone is scoring more than that, that is really great. Legal again, it was easy. So maximum bracket. So definitely the questions from the contract were tricky. So I am keeping that aside, but rest seem to be easy. So 10 is the maximum bracket which you might score, and someone definitely can score more than 10 also. And analytical reasoning depends upon the practice you had with respect to the questions. If someone had a very good practice, they might have scored 9 out of 12. And at least 5 to 6 must be scored by the other people also, because considering it was time taking. So this is the minimum bracket. So overall, if we see, the average score must go around 45 plus, right? So it should be somewhere between the 47 to 55. So this is something if we take the maximum bracket of all of this, so it will come around 57 or 58, right? So but that will be a leisure, right? So if we see the min, because out of 60 getting 58 will be very huge, but still if someone has performed well, you can expect around 52 or 51, but nonetheless a medium score would be close to something 46, 47, right? And I would like to thank a special thanks to this following students who have helped us post their paper. They might have, they did have an option to enjoy and spend their time, but they took out some time of their busy schedule and discussed the questions with us. So thanking to Nandana, Tisya, Kaveri, Vamshi, Khushi and Twisha, this students helped us in jotting down the question and giving us the analysis. So with this, we have come to an end, and hope it has helped you, and wishing you all the best for your results. So I hope that all of you must clear the paper with the good marks. So see you in the next session.